Fleet might be all about vehicles, but it's the people behind them who steer the real story. Welcome to Fleet Legends, an interview series focused on passing down institutional fleet knowledge, sponsored by Legend Fleet. I'm Lauren Fletcher, Bobbitt's VP of Content, and today I'm sitting down with someone who's helped shape this industry in more ways than one. Sue Miller is one of those recognizable names in Fleet and a true pro with decades of lived experience. Sue, let's go ahead and get right into this. Every legend has an origin story. Can you go ahead and tell us how you got started?
I actually got started as the administrative assistant to the treasurer of Service Master Industries in Downers Grove, Illinois. And it was in the late 70s. And it was never, they didn't have a position there available at that time. I mean, in terms of what was called fleet. But there was a large drawer that had all these titles and car repair bills and receipts for cars, and it just went against my nature to just have everything in a pile. So I started to sort it out and came to find out they had 500 vehicles that they had titles to. And I had met someone named Phil Brennan from Consolidated Service at the time, and he introduced me to the realm of NAFA. And I found a job description through them. I created the job description to suit what we felt would be good for Service Master and presented it to my boss. And he said, "You should take that to the VP of purchasing," which I did. And they created a position for me. So I became the first ever fleet coordinator.
That's incredible. And then where'd you go from
Well, from
there?
there, thanks to the Chicagoland Dealers Association, which many of them, that's of course been disbanded for quite some time now, but those folks really took me under their wing. They introduced me to other major players within the fleet and leasing industry, like Wheels. I had the blessing to meet Zolly Frank and actually work with Wheels in the beginning, Phil Presida from ARI. A lot of these folks are either retired or have passed on, but they were extremely influential in helping me grow not only my brand, but then my knowledge, which took me to AB Dick Company, which after that took me to Keebler Corporation, which because of my involvement with NAFA at that time, that took me into McDonald's. And it was at that time, kind of in a crossover, when I also learned about the Automotive Fleet and Leasing Association and became a member there. And I would say that it was through AFLA primarily that I really was able to blossom and grow, if you will, into my fleet management roles and really learned how to network and build and leverage those relationships.
I was going to say it really shows the power of networking and people, especially in this industry.
I would say, especially at that time, I mean, that's over 40 years ago. Most women were just breaking into management or any type of leadership roles that were really public facing, if you will. I know at McDonald's, it had been in the late 70s that who became my boss, Bonnie Koss, she was the first female VP in McDonald's Corporation at that time. So, to be able to navigate and grow your career as a young woman in those days was, it was, I don't want to say it was tricky, but I was blessed to have really respectful and dedicated people that wanted to help me develop and grow.
Creating a better day for the legends of the road with the non-slip van floors, protective interior liners, and full range of work van accessories. Trusted by major OEMs and fleets all across North America and Europe.
So, in reflecting back on your fleet career so far, what were some of the more significant changes that you've seen
Oh,
in fleet
geez.
management?
Well, I mean, just in the last 5, 10 years, if you think about the changes we've seen, I mean, imagine going back to the late 70s when I got started. I mean, everything has changed. I mean, front wheel drive cars were the big thing back then. I mean, ABS came out. I mean, the list is so long, it just doesn't even, we shouldn't even bother mentioning them all. But I would say that underpinning all of it is technology. And that's really what has catapulted and changed so much within the fleet industry, not only in how the vehicles are made and designed and what they can do, but then now we're into telematics and cameras and all of the benefits that that brings to managing a fleet. Which, boy, that's just gold. If anybody doesn't have those things in their fleet now, I really hope that they do it soon.
True. I mean, we know experience doesn't come easy. So let's get into some of the takeaways that have just really stuck with you. What are some of the more important lessons that you've learned in fleet that you think are crucial for new fleet managers to understand?
Oh, for new fleet managers, I think when you're first getting started, it's most important to be an extremely good listener and also a good interviewer. And you don't necessarily have to conduct interviews like you're doing right now, but when I first got started, one of the best nuggets that I ever received was to, when you're going to a conference, you always got to bring something back to show the value of why you attended, what you got from it. But they suggested to me that I would make a list of people that I hadn't met before, or even those that I don't get to see on a regular basis, and make certain that you call those people out, that you find them and you say hi and you introduce yourself in person and you get to know them a little bit, ask them some questions. And, you don't always have to dig right into business, find out where they live, what they enjoy doing. I mean, get to know somebody a little bit, take an interest in them. And then they will be more likely to open up to you a little bit more about what's going on inside their business needs, what's important to them in their line of work, what's their primary goals. And do this for not only other fleet managers, but for vendors as well, because everybody has a goal in mind.
That's fantastic. All right, this is probably one of my favorite ones. We're going to hop into our virtual time machine. And if you could go back in time to when you first started out, what's one thing you wish you would have known?
That you have the right to be there. I mean, it can be very intimidating when you're the new kid on the block. And if you're in that role and you're at a meeting, or if you're at a conference or at some other event, you're there representing your company and you have a right to be there. So don't be intimidated. Don't go in feeling like you shouldn't be there. I guess I'm talking about an imposter syndrome. Just know that you're there for a reason and that you are there to just, and get as much knowledge and information as you can, and also enjoy yourself. Don't get so intimidated by the whole event that you forget to just have some fun as well. It's okay to tell a joke or laugh at some, you know what I mean?
Smile sometimes. It makes you feel a little more approachable. I think with the imposter thing, one of my favorite quotes on that is real imposters never get imposter syndrome.
I like that.
And that really stuck with me in those moments where you don't feel like you belong, or you don't quite feel as confident, or you see these people who there's always someone who knows more than you do. And that can be very intimidating in these spaces. But I tell myself that and remind myself when I'm having those moments that a true imposter will never have imposter syndrome. And that helps quite a bit in break that thought process.
I like that a lot. And you said something else. There's always someone that knows more than you do. Don't ever forget that. I mean, there's always an opportunity for you to learn or to hear a different perspective. It may be the same thing you've heard over and over, or maybe it's the same idea someone has suggested or you've tried over and over. But then, you know what? Let's give it one more try, and all of a sudden it might click. So don't always assume that you know everything, and do seek out those people that know more than you. You want to get those.
Yeah, I was going to say, add those to the list of 10 people that you're seeking out at the next event you go to.
Exactly.
So, from your perspective, are there any what we might call rookie mistakes that you're seeing that new fleet managers should try and steer clear of?
Yes. And this might not make some people happy, but I think some fleet managers, the rookie fleet managers, allow themselves to be isolated by a vendor. Do not let yourself become so beholden to one vendor that you can't see things objectively or learn things from other facets of the business. There's always different ways to do things. And just because you're doing it this way right now doesn't mean it's going to be the right way for you in the future. So I see that happening in some instances where people are afraid to break away or talk to other vendors or just have different conversations outside of their group, if you will. So that would be one thing I would suggest. And then the other would be don't come in thinking that you know so much already. I'm sure everybody has a lot to share, but I also have seen that as well, where it's like I have to impress, I have to, let people know how smart I am. That will come out. That will come out. It may take a little more time than you want it to at first, when you're wanting to make that really great first impression, but maybe not try so hard sometimes.
So, fleet, it's a balancing act. I mean, you've got people, processes, vehicles, and tech, as you noted, and you've seen it all evolve. Thinking about what's really worked well, what practices or innovations have you found to be the most effective in managing a successful fleet?
I would say the thing that is most effective in managing a fleet, yes, it's all the technology and the other tools that are available to fleet managers. But the most effective and important thing is learning how to build and leverage relationships and to create that level of trust that is necessary to do business effectively. It's you have to be consistent in those relationships. You have to be transparent and sometimes vulnerable. I was typically almost always on the customer side of things, but I would like to think that I was always open and honest with my vendors about what I needed to accomplish and what I needed from them, and what I could pay for and what I couldn't, and how we could all work together to make my job really the best for my company and provide the best results for my organization, yet also helping my vendors be successful at the same time. I don't want to beat people up over the head so much, but, coming back to building and leveraging those relationships, it's extremely important to do that within your organization because fleet manager, I learned early on, very early on, that you cannot operate in a silo. You're not just fleet management. You have to take in the interests of all of the other parts of your organization, your legal team, your HR team, your finance team, your accounting team, your technology team, your IT team, risk and safety. And they all have different names these days, but I think everybody gets the theme. You really have to get to know the other leaders within those groups because they're going to help impact and influence things that you need to advance as a fleet manager, but then you also need to help them advance things within their departments as well, and so that everyone can be successful.
I love it. So, running a fleet is one thing. Leading a team through ups and downs is an entirely different challenge. And I'm quite aware that depending on what fleet you're at and what you're doing, some are a team of one, some have a much larger team. Through your career, what strategies have you used to build and lead a successful team?
It comes back to listening again. And I don't even know if it's a strategy or if it's just something that comes natural to most folks, but you got to get to know your team and they have to have a voice. Because as the stresses that you're feeling as a director of fleet or a manager or whatever your title may be, if you're the leader, and you're feeling these stress, they say stuff runs downhill. Well, you can only imagine what's happening to your team, and they're talking to other people that are influencing what they're thinking and how they're coming up with what they think's going on. So you really have to be in constant communication with your team, at least weekly, and give them a chance to voice their concerns. And also in building that trust and vulnerability I was talking about before, you're not going to get honest answers from them if they don't trust you. So hopefully every opportunity that you've been given to build trust with an individual on your team as an individual and as a group, you've been able to take advantage of, and it's worked to your advantage. Because that only through that open communication and dialogue are you really going to be able to help your team go through the stresses and the ups and downs of cutbacks and changes in work policy and workforce and anything that may be impacting the fleet department or the company as well. Something that will make them feel threatened. You need to help them feel safe.
And I think, that leads really well into the next question that I've got. A lot can happen, and keeping a team motivated is no small feat. How do you manage to keep your team engaged and inspired to keep moving, even when things are getting tough?
Well, it doesn't always work. For one, let's be honest. because it sometimes doesn't even work for yourself. You kind of get overwhelmed, and you got to take a step back, and then you've got to find your mentors to help you stay inspired so that you know how to pass it on. So, you know, there's that. As a leader, don't forget that you need to reach out for help now and then too. You're not expected to have all of the answers all of the time. So reach out to your mentors, and if you don't have them, find people that you can confide in that will have your best interest at heart and will be able to, give you some suggestions. But I found that the best way of keeping your team inspired and people that work with you and also around you is, again, that open, honest transparency. But then every opportunity that you can provide, which again, you can't always do it, but enrolling them in certain training. If there's different things going on inside the company, or even the outside courses are really good, even though they typically cost significantly more and are more difficult to get approval for. But that helps your team be exposed to other people from different organizations, and they can have those, oh my God, my boss this and my boss that kind of conversations. You know what I mean? Without you even being around. So giving people every opportunity to learn is really, I think, the most valuable thing you can give them.
Love it. So we're going to hop back into that virtual time machine for a moment. This time, we're going to be looking ahead because one thing I know the next generation of fleet managers is watching right now, and fleet is always evolving. What advice would you give to new entrants joining the fleet management industry today?
Wow. Well, I don't envy you, that's for sure. Because the fundamentals are the fundamentals of fleet. It's always, providing the best possible product, if you will, your fleet for the least possible cost, and then managing all of the things that go into that. The orchestra of doing that has gotten bigger and more complex. Although I would say that the young fleet managers coming into the workforce today are very well equipped to handle it. They don't, there's not a lot that they're going to have to involve into because they've grown up with this technology and they can see already and they've lived it. I mean, we've got computers that we carry around with us. I mean, my cell phone is everything to me now.
Yeah.
Just to be able to stay open to the human factor, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge. And balancing the use of AI with the people, with your drivers, with the technology that they have to deal with, and helping them with that, because there's still, I think, we're lagging in the training and technology for a lot of the drivers in certain industries that we have, that are trying to be hired. I mean, like I know in the trucking industry, trying to find good qualified drivers is getting harder and harder. So to the new fleet managers, just be aware that your drivers are going to be the most important thing to your safe operation of an efficient fleet, and getting them the training that they need to operate out in the world efficiently and safely with the technology is going to be, that's, I think, the biggest challenge, quite frankly. It's always going to be the human factor.
I love that angle. That, like I said, I've been doing this series now for a year, and that's the first we've heard that particular aspect. And I think it's incredibly important. You're right. That's, the vehicles are one thing, but the people and those who are driving them are incredibly important to pay attention to and recruit and
Absolutely.
retain.
I mean, human nature is still human nature. And it's more vulnerable than ever these days with all of the influx of things that are being put upon us as people. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge that these young fleet managers have, is helping our drivers navigate all of the things that they need to navigate.
Sue, thank you so much for sharing your journey and all the valuable insights that you've gained along the way. It's stories like yours that really remind us fleet is not just about vehicles and tech. It's about the people driving that change. Before I wrap, though, I want to give you the last word. Is there anything you'd like to say to the folks watching or your fellow fleet pros that are tuning in?
Yes. I mean, I can't imagine having done anything else for the most of my life, actually. I mean, I got into this gig when I was like 19 years old, and it's just been amazing. There was never a dull moment. The people that I have come across in the industry are I still have, I mean, they're my friends. Most of my mentors, like I've mentioned, are behind me now, if you will. They've passed on, but it takes a village in Fleet, and I want to say thank you to all of those who helped me along the way and who still stay in touch and that I'm friends with. And I look forward to meeting even more new people as well. It's been a great ride, and I encourage you to just embrace it.
Thank you. And thank you so much for everything you've done for the industry over the past several decades. This is just incredible. For everyone else, we hope you're walking away with some solid takeaways and maybe a little inspiration too. If you've got some thoughts on the episode, drop them in the comments. Know someone with a legendary story to tell? Tell us who to see next. We've got more great conversations coming on the way, so stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you on the next episode of Fleet Legends.